All right, everyone, there's a 40-mile-long Russian armored convoy headed for Kiev right
because every single person has been telling me that you have to watch this video. This guy's really good. This guy's really good. His analysis on it is like really fucking good.
now. What does that mean for the Ukrainian army's defense? It's upside down.
How am I supposed to cope with Putin's threat of nuclear war if all the vodka's being pulled off the shelves?
And where do I go to pick up my towed Russian tank? Hello, Spare Parts Army. I'm your average infantryman, Chris Cappy. Today I'm continuing our ground-level analysis of the Russo-Ukrainian war, now in its 7th day.
Skull built like the average infantryman. Look at that.
Open source intelligence networks on Twitter were able to intercept these low-level Russian unit communications, which weren't even encrypted. So anyone with a radio could listen in or
okay, that's wrong, but you know, whatever, let's continue.
Jam their signal in the middle of combat. Communications that have been translated reveal Russian soldiers' call signs as they curse each other in the middle of combat. They're angry over the lack of—
Bro, this is such like soy Reddit soy shit. Like, oh yeah, they're talking just like a COD lobby. Like, I saw that stuff. It was like very— I saw that. They sound exactly like a CSGO lobby soy.
supplies, and we have reports of their KIA and injuries, all from listening in on their communications.
Here you see the Russian infantry using a tactic called recon by fire, where they just go down the road shooting everything in sight.
So I guess it's a good thing that I went ahead and changed the password to the channel 3 times yesterday to protect from Russian cyber attacks. One Reddit user pointed out that the Russian invasion so far has been like Putin's version of Firefest, a huge disaster. But a lot of people are getting their analysis from Western generals, who look at all the Russian casualties and they think that's a sign that they're losing. A lot of people don't understand the Russian military though, and I've been studying it for years now. Historically, the Russian army has always been more comfortable with taking high levels of casualties. You look at the Georgian battle, you look at Granzi, they always take higher casualties that we would assume Putin and Russian generals would be horrified by, like we would. But that's not the case. The fact is the Russian army has viewed war very differently. And there's a chance that the Russian army did what the old Soviet Union army used to do, and they sent in their conscripts and their worst equipment first.
Captured Russian POWs confirm that they had no idea they were going into a war. They thought they were going into a training event. But to be fair, this could just be Ukrainian propaganda. Or it could be what the Russian military told their soldiers to say in the event of being captured.
But is that the reality on the ground? Or are there parts of this story that the media is missing here?
Task and purpose. Let's go!
Intelligence tool, the live conflict map, where the marked red areas show us live, up-to-the-minute visualizations of all the areas that are completely in Russian army control. This area here has grown slightly since Sunday, where they started to try to flank the city from the west down to the south to the city of Markiv, which was in Russian control as early as last night, but as of today the Ukrainian armed forces have recaptured it. According to the United Kingdom Ministry of Defense analysis, they're predicting that the Russian troop movements over the next few days are going to look like this, where the Russian army is going to try to move from the east to the west to Kiev and from the south all the way to the north to Kiev. The new 40-mile-long Russian convoy has now reached about 30 kilometers outside of Kiev, near a town called Ivankiv, which is a choke point on the way down to the capital. This town has seen heavy fighting in the past few days. Matthew Bolig is an expert in Russian warfare at the Chatham House, a policy institute in London, and he said, quote, "What we're seeing is basically phase 2, which is a shift to the much more brutal, tactless, unrestricted warfare, which will lead to many more civilian casualties and bloodier battles."
By the way, the irony of this dude saying that like Russia cares less about throwing their meat at the problem, like treating their citizens as meat, and then like talking about how the American military doesn't do that is hilarious because, yeah, part of that is, it's true, okay? But part of that is because the American military have a cop skull. Like, they literally operate like cops. Your life is infinitely more important than any sort of interest you have in controlling that territory in perpetuity. Okay? Never heard him say that? No, he just brought it up. He brought up the Russians don't have a problem with like throwing human beings at the problem, and like letting a lot more people die. Yeah, of course, because America cares significantly more about their own military's well-being and the lives of American service members rather than like any sort of additional goals that they may have of controlling territory. The fuck are you talking? Did you not hear him literally say okay, here. Let's show one more time. Okay? They've been historically
from Western generals who look at all a huge disaster. But a lot of people are getting their analysis from Western generals who look at all the Russian casualties and they think that's a sign that they're losing. A lot of people don't understand the Russian military though, and I've been studying it.
He said the USSR did the same. He also said the Russian losses are not perceived the same by Westerners, implying that the Westerners themselves see this level of casualties as a gigantic military disaster. That's what I mean.
Baby law.
Your stands expect you to say America doesn't care about its military? No, America care. It doesn't. They don't. America doesn't care about its military because it fucking sends it all over the place. But it still cares more about its military than it does about the people that it's fucking militarily defeating. America doesn't care about, America doesn't have like ethnic Americans living in Iraq and therefore have like a political interest in their neighboring country of Iraq, making sure that they can occupy Iraq for 20 fucking years. Okay? That's the difference. America can launch a puppet state and install a puppet state in Iraq and fuck off. Okay? And retreat most of their fucking forces and still be able to command that region. Versus with Russia in their fucking neighbor country with ethnic Russians living there, they want to maintain, and they're wrong to try to do this, by the way, just for the record. They want to maintain some kind of control over that territory with an occupation, extended occupation in mind. That's part of the reason why they didn't fucking go in guns blazing in the same way that America has time and time again. That's a bad take, though, because Russians don't care about enemies either. No, Russia cannot fucking do a 20-year occupation in their neighbor country in the same way that America can in Afghanistan and Iraq. That's the point.
Most advanced tracked infantry fighting vehicle. Each one carries 8 infantry, which can dismount once they reach urban areas. These vehicles fire a 30mm autocannon, which are massive explosive bullets. It's estimated there are 15,000 additional Russian troops in total in this convoy headed to the capital. There are also hundreds of Ural supply trucks carrying food, fuel, and ammo. I heard a lot of misconceptions in the media around this movement. In order to really understand what this long Russian convoy is actually doing here, we need to turn to a 416-page paper written in 2017 by Dr. Lester W. Grew called The Russian Way of War. It's an exhaustive breakdown of modern Russian army tactics and doctrine. In the section on Russian logistics, it points out that the Russian military will aim to set up refueling points along the route ahead of time, which is what I think they've been doing over the past 6 days in the initial invasion movement. According to the refueling standards, Russian tanks need to stop during the second half of a 12-hour-long march day. I believe this explains the periodic slowdowns and the stops along the convoy route. So the media is saying that the convoy is going slower than expected. They flat out do not understand convoy operations of this size, and they've never had to coordinate something at this scale before. For instance, they've probably never had the pleasure of having to go out into the freezing cold wood line on a tactical pause and take a tactical piss, like this guy had to. If the initial intelligence reports here are accurate, if you were to walk from one end of this convoy to the other end at an average walking pace of 18 minutes per mile, that would take you 12 hours to walk from one end of the convoy to the other. That's a lot of tanks. By the book, the max range of a Russian Material Technical Support Battalion, MTO Support Battalion, is 80 kilometers. When you look at the map, they've gone slightly further than that, which explains some of the slowdown that they're operating just outside their max limitations of fuel and equipment. We have to understand that the Russian army doesn't have their headquarters right on the border of Belarus and Ukraine. They have it some 50 kilometers to the rear of the border. So they're traveling at least 150 kilometers total to their staging area for the assault on Kiev. So by the Russian army doctrine, by the book, the brigade assault element gets close to the objective that they plan on attacking, in this case Kiev, and then what they do is they set up a designated safe distance at the edge of the enemy's defenses. We see on the live Ukraine conflict map, liveua.com, the Russians are currently 15 kilometers outside Kiev, where they are clearly setting up an assembly area, after which they will conduct a line of attack on the city. To be sure, they have faced heavier resistance than they expected from the Ukrainian armed forces, who are putting up a hell of a fight, and it's my hope that they will prevail. But I want to remain realistic about our expectations here. To the untrained eye, it looks like the Russians have stopped, but if you understand
that staging area was obliterated. I haven't seen it, but I believe it.
Russian army doctrine, they're setting up a forward operating base outside Kiev to begin artillery strikes, if need be, because the max range of their two S-19 self-propelled artillery tank is 24 kilometers, and 20 kilometers max range for the majority of their multiple rocket launch systems. We see this is exactly
it could have happened. This video is old now. I mean, it's a lot happens in war in 3 fucking days. It's a 3-day-old video.
How far away they've stopped outside of the city as they're setting up their headquarters to launch their attacks from. They are softening the defenses with artillery, and this is supported by our live map, which for the first time in 6 days, the majority of the reports from Kiev and the other cities.
Dude, some dude in YouTube says he knows better than the media who most likely have interviewed real experts. Wait, what? Dude, I think you should know by now that like a lot of the fucking people within the media are just as clueless as you are. What the fuck does CNN know, dude? What do you think Anderson Cooper knows? Anderson Cooper is in Lviv interviewing a guy that hasn't left Virginia in like 10 fucking years, talking about like Putin's crazy. It's actually a crazy thing that they're doing and they're losing pretty hard. Literally looking at the same fucking videos that we are looking at. They look at the same exact live streams that we look at. You know that, right? They're getting info from the same OSINT guys that we're getting information from. This isn't to say that this guy is informed, but it's to show you that like no one is fucking informed, okay? Just remember that.
It's all about incoming artillery and rocket fire.
That doesn't mean we can't get lucky every once in a while. Like the enemy forgot to put the handbrake on this artillery vehicle and it goes rolling down the hill into the tree. Ivan casually walking over there like he doesn't give a fuck.
In the first few days of the invasion, the Russian army appeared to be holding back their full air force. They holded back on their full rocket artillery power. There was no shock and awe campaign like many of you might remember in the US-run invasion of Iraq, where we softened the targets and we caused many Iraqi units to surrender before even fighting. Russia appears to want to cause as little damage as possible.
That's wild to hear, by the way. Like, it's wild to hear a Western dude, especially one who's fucking served, admit that. When I say it, I'm a fucking Putin propagandist. But this guy's the most hoorah motherfucker you'll ever hear. And he's right. I mean, even when he's talking about it, he says, soften the targets. Like, you can understand what his perspective is. But he's right, though. Like, he's right. He's 100% fucking correct when he's saying Russia did not soften the targets by fucking shelling the entirety, the absolute entirety of Ukrainian cities. Not mentioning the 6K civilian casualties. Wait, what do you mean? 6,000 civilians have not died in Ukraine thus far. I've never heard that. If you're getting that number, I don't know where you're hearing that number from. Oh, you mean Iraq? Sorry. Yeah. No, it's 300.
in the beginning. When the Ukrainian armed forces proved very formidable in their defenses, the Russian army has now begun to change their tactics and lay siege with a more destructive kind of warfare with weapons like the thermobaric warhead.
I agree
There's
with
some
all
evidence
this.
for this in the way that they coordinated their attack. This could likely be a miscalculation due to the Russian army military generals being reluctant to tell Putin the reality.
300 civilians is low. It's 10 times higher. Dude, what are you talking about? That's the Ukrainian number. It's not like... Or no, the Ukrainian number might be higher. That's the UN number, I think.
The situation on the ground that they're going into. No one wants to bring the bad news to the big bear. The other possibility is Putin knew how bad it would be on the ground, but he felt that the alternative of not going in would be worse for him. I conducted some meme warfare myself yesterday on my Instagram, pointing out how Putin is acting like the Tinder swindler, scamming just about everybody from
Oh
football.
God, oh, I'm throwing up.
After teasing us for 6 long days of the Belarus army giving us tactical blue balls, they officially decided to join the fight to back up Russian. You might remember the Belarus president from such incidents as when he grounded a civilian plane that was flying over his country's airspace so that he could arrest a journalist on there who was critical of him. This is the same guy that was quoted as saying, "I am the last dictator in Europe." The Belarus president appeared to be giving away future
He also famously said, "What COVID? All you need is vodka and sauna."
plans for them to be attacking neighboring countries of Moldova after this in a televised appearance. Oh yeah, excuse me, brilliant Supreme Leader. Shouldn't we avoid giving away our attack plans? And shouldn't we supply our troops with enough food and water?
This is a real fucking... I've been working on this story for 10 years. And he just fucking leaked it moment. You know what I mean? He just tweeted it moment. I've been working on the story for 10 months. And he just went and tweeted it.
1 year of brain rot.
I mean, this is some batshit shit, but it did, you know, that is real. That did happen.
Oh, and why are we looking at a printout of a map? I'm pretty sure I saw a laptop laying around here somewhere and a projector. Couldn't we use that? It's clear the Russians have pulled out of the cities, they're encircling them, and they're now using the tactics of artillery strikes. It will become a war of attrition, slowly grinding the enemy away to the point of giving up. Unfortunately, the Russians understand this type of warfare well. In Kiev and Konotop, they're applying an old Soviet Red Army tactic of encirclement, and this actually helped them win World War II against Germany. Once Kiev is encircled, it'll be cut off from receiving additional NATO supplies and weapons. At that point, the realities on the ground will change very quickly. The Russian army has now committed 80% of their roughly 170,000 total troops that were stationed on the Ukrainian border. After an initial embarrassing failure from Russian special operations attempting to take Hostomel airfield just outside Kiev, here we see Chechnyan soldiers replace the Ukrainian flag at the airfield with a Russian one. They have now secured this key airfield, and 200 Ukrainian soldiers were KIA attempting to defend it. This will allow Russia to airlift their higher quality troops directly to the front without having to worry about the complicated, difficult, and costly logistics of coming in from Belarus. Capturing of airfields and then flying in reinforcements was key to the US invasion of Iraq as well.
The two areas where the Ukrainians have fucking overperformed is one, defending defending at least like some launching platforms for their own air teams, and two, retaking key airports. Like Russians have not been able to maintain control over an airport long enough to be able to fucking launch their own bombing campaigns or like bring in their own planes and shit. And of course, war propaganda too, but that's, you know, that's a given.
Troops arriving at this airport will be more fresh, and they will not have gone through the exhausting 200-kilometer trek. There is something that I want everyone to keep in mind as we manage our expectations here. In the West, we're seeing a lot of propaganda on social media from Ukraine. In many instances, it's true propaganda. So for instance, videos of Russian columns of tanks getting destroyed are real, and the Russians are taking heavier losses than expected. But we have to remember, we have to temper our expectations because we're not seeing Russian soldiers uploading videos of destroyed Ukrainian tanks and their victories. I believe people are expecting a fast Russian retreat, and they have a skewed view of the war right now.
Yes, this is key. This is important. This is important to understand. Like, don't get over fucking confident. Don't get overconfident and think that like that you know that they're gonna be able to they're fucking crushing ass, beating cheeks.
Believe me, I want that to be the case, but it's wishful thinking at this point. The real scary part for the Russian army at this point is the evidence of how difficult any occupation attempt would be.
Strong defense because Ukraine got Canadian military defense training. Shut the fuck up, dude. I knew someone was gonna say that because I was making fun of the Azov Battalion getting training in Canada. I was waiting for that for like a week now. Some Canadian is gonna remember that I made fun of the Canadian Special Forces training, and he was gonna bring it back up and be like, "That's right, eh? The reason why they're beating ass cheeks is because, that's right, eh? Because us folks over in Canada, we showed them." When I was fighting, I've been pissed if I was lied to about the state of the war, even if it was our propaganda. No.
If they attempted to stay in Ukraine. In eastern Ukraine, we're looking at the live map and we can see a Russian brigade attempted to go into the city, and once they met resistance, they left. To the media, this appears to be a retreat, but really these Russians are following their military doctrine and they're encircling the town instead, which is a classic Soviet Red Army move. Once the troops left, they actually had a soldier go in holding 2 live hand grenades to negotiate a surrender of the Ukrainian armed forces. He was holding these hand grenades above his head with the pins probably pulled just in case somebody tried to take him out on the way to the negotiations. The Ukrainian mayor told him to fuck right off, so he left those grenades held up high so he could get out of the town. Someone's been watching too much of the Joker. Yesterday, looking at the live map, we can see in the south of the country near Crimea, the Russian attack plans, their entire invasion plans, fell into Ukraine's hands. The documents were captured by the 810th Brigade of the Battalion Tactical Group of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, their Marines. It was likely taken off a captured high-ranking officer. The plan was from January 18th, and it appears to say that the Russian army expected their initial invasion to take about 15 days. So this is actually evidence that according to their own timeline, they are potentially not that far behind their own expectations for progress, depending on how long Kiev can hold out. The spreadsheet that we see here looks like a comms plan for changing radio frequencies and call signs for each unit, because you never call anyone by their actual name over the radio net. In this map, we see each of these symbols.
Couldn't they just back up a little and shoot him? Good take, man. Yeah, just explode a fucking grenade when the guy is liable to like run towards the crowd of civilians surrounding him. Yeah, Hurt Locker. Dun dun dun. Damn, bro. We don't even need movies like Hurt Locker. We got Twitch chat in here.
Are a mechanized BTR rifle battalion. The flag is where the material technical battalion is, or where the supply unit is, headquarters. The Russian army sets up a headquarters just outside their enemy's defenses. They push supplies from headquarters down to the subunits on the offense. These red lines here, these archers, they indicate where the subunits line up and assemble for attack, and then where they push through. This line up here, it indicates where the objective is for the battalion. There we saw what happens when Russian troops run out of supplies and decide to start looking into local Ukrainian stores. There's even a video of them robbing a bank and looting stores using shopping carts. They look like amateur airsoft teams going shopping after a good match. One user pointed out how they took a long break from doing war crimes so they could have time to do regular old crimes.
Truly horrifying part about this is that it means that the Russian army is engaging in scorched earth warfare.
And this brings me to something important. One person commented on a last video pointing out, how could I joke about war? How can I make light of these situations? Is it because I'm desensitized from having been to war myself? Am I some kind of heartless asshole who likes war? First of all,
yes, the answer is he's gonna say yes.
First of all, you're right to ask me that. It's a reasonable question. Why am I making jokes on this sensitive topic? I promise you behind every joke is anger and disbelief that this was even allowed to happen. I know my
It's like, I'm angrily making jokes, okay? I'm making angry jokes towards the Russians. No, I mean, it is that. It's that. Like, yes, a lot of veterans have a very different sense of humor about this sort of stuff, considering that they have been desensitized. I do the same shit too. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not a veteran, obviously, but yeah, I mean, I'm not a veteran. I'm an armchair general. It's a little bit different. Everybody makes jokes about it. The people that fucking cry about the joking is like, they're ridiculous.
myself, and if I don't laugh every now and again, the fear.
Sorry, that's not true. I am a veteran of the Korean War, baby. Both sides.
And the pain will get me to a point where I'm paralyzed by it. I won't be productive. I won't make videos trying to make sense.
Okay, I don't care about the individual personal side of this.
Region.
And my jokes are going to be funny anyway.
I think a lot of people don't understand why the Russian forces in the Donbass region in the east haven't moved forward. Why haven't they overrun the enemy there yet?
And this is the region where analysts say it's most friendly to Russia, so they should hypothetically be making a easy pass through there. The theory is that Russia is pinning the Ukrainian army down, holding them in place.
What do you mean? No, they're holding it because part of their operation is literally to secure the Donbass region. And the other reason is because 50% of the fucking troops in Ukraine are stationed literally here. So their goal is to overtake Melitopol and like cut off the rest of the Dnieper river. Or I'm gonna fuck up the names here, but basically the goal is to take over Kharkiv and cut off the rest of the Ukrainian forces from the other side. But also the other reason why they're not doing it is because they're like because the top of the hour is here and they know that a 60-second ad break is coming. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe and protect yourself from the top of the hour ad break. I was so horny to execute that I just like fucked up. I couldn't get it out correctly and fast enough. Oh, Jesus Christ. That's the reason why they're doing that though. Like they're defending themselves against the top of the hour ad break, which you can do as well if you subscribe for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime or by getting gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's the woman ad break now. Get fucked.
These Ukrainian forces located here are called the rearguard action. Rearguard means that they're defending the capital of Kiev from being encircled from the south. Kherson is the first major city on the way from Crimea up to the north. Let's take a look and see how things are going on the ground there. Okay, the Russian soldier really hates that door. Is a techno house an electronics store or a dance club? Right after that, he actually realized that the door was unlocked the whole time. But my poor taste in jokes about the Russian army aside, the assault on Kherson is not going as planned.
Thank you, Matt NLT.
The Russian army only a few hours ago just released some initial figures, admitting what their losses have been so far. They claim to have lost 498 servicemen and nearly 1,600 have been wounded. The Russian Ministry of Defense, their estimates of the Ukrainian losses are that the Ukrainians have lost 2,870 soldiers KIA, 3,700 wounded, and the Russians claim to have captured 572 Ukrainian servicemen. The Ukrainian armed forces claim to have taken out over 5,700 Russian soldiers. They claim 200 Russians have been captured, 29 planes destroyed, 198.
What the fuck? 5,000 killed, 200 captives? That distribution is psychotic. Anyway.
Tanks destroyed, 846 armored personnel carriers destroyed. And that might sound like a lot, but when you look at the estimates,
was a 10K die by now. I don't believe that. I do not believe that.
Of the amount of tanks and soldiers that Russian military brought to the fight, it's barely anything.
It's likely that both sides are lying a little bit about the casualty figures. We won't know for sure for a long time.
But I understand that we can't get swept up in emotion. The news is reporting Putin is a madman, he's deranged, and I understand why.
But the truth is he's much worse than that.
These are the same people that force us to take vodka off the shelves because they're afraid. Stoli had to apologize and say, oh, we're actually not imported from Russia. And those are the type of people that they don't know how else to help. So that little bit makes them feel like they have control again in the world.
This dude has like, through all the hoorah shit, he does have like a lot of moments of clarity and sanity, which is surprising. I guess my expectation is when I see like anyone who's like even a little bit hoorah, or uses like tactical potty as like a joke, you know, like uses that kind of language, is immediately to expect them to just be like, yeah, fuck yeah, baby, get some, you know what I mean? Sitting on the fucking helm of M60 shooting at like the rice farmers in North Vietnam. Like that's the image that I have in my mind. But he's doing like a relatively decent job of being even-handed when he's covering this stuff. He's a very good dude. He's a very good dude. Yeah, I just thought he was going to be a boot.
Where we clearly do not. I remember we did something very similar in Iraq when we called French fries freedom fries because France wouldn't help us with their military. Listen, at the lowest levels of fighting, your average infantryman on both sides...
A veteran, not a LARPer? Dude, what do you mean? There's a lot of veterans who are like that. The fuck are you talking about? Also, someone said he doesn't eat crayons. Well, yeah, he's not in the Marines, dude. I don't think. I think he was Army infantry.
Almost a necessity for your own sanity and survival to turn off your critical thinking, to switch it off, and to reduce the enemy to they're just insane. Troops on both sides oftentimes have to view the enemy as having no valid reason for war.
People think that like the only LARPers, people unironically feel like the only LARPers are outside of the military. No, dude, there's plenty of LARPers in the military too. Half the time they're joining it so they can LARP, you know? There definitely tons of fucking LARPers, like Airsoft Andes turned fucking, you know, Marines that keep that level of hoorah fuckery after the military.
But when we zoom out to the level of analysis that involves military generals, officers, then finally geopolitics at that point becomes extremely important to truly understand the enemy in order to never underestimate them. That is what wargaming is at its heart. And that's what makes a good general. They attempt to hold two conflicting ideas in their head at the same time. They need to understand how their own forces operate, but they also need to be able to switch and understand the enemy's position, their logic, their rationale, because then you can more accurately predict the enemy's movements. Writing the enemy off as a madman does not help with that. When I was a lowly 19-year-old PFC in Iraq, I turned to my best friend Colin, and I said the enemy was a bunch of cowards for planting landmines and doing hit and run tactics. He told me something I'll never forget. He said the insurgents are not cowards, they're smart. They're fighting with us the only way that they can. They're trying to exploit our weaknesses. If they stood toe to toe to us, we'd destroy them. I sat there stunned. And then he said, are we cowards for dropping bombs on them from 30,000 feet high where they can't even see it coming? And that opened my eyes up. You can't underestimate the enemy.
He didn't say it, but yes.
Military force that you definitely don't want to underestimate is the Chechens.
The Chechen forces have joined the fight on the other side, with the Russians sending 10,000 soldiers, as we see in this video. The head of the Chechen Republic, Kadyrov, said, as of today, as of this minute, we do not have one single casualty or wounded. Not a single man has even a runny nose. The President Putin took the right decision. And
Bad take, Chuds are most vocal, but definitely the minority in the army. Dude, you are insane if you think Chuds are the minority in the army, or you're just in the Air Force, or just the Navy. Like, dude, what the fuck? What are you serious? Chuds are the minority? What? Dude, the entire fucking military training revolves around breaking you down until you turn into a fucking boot, dude. What are you talking about? Yeah, motherfuckers out here like, yeah, I was in the Coast Guard, and the Army is very different than the way you're presenting it right now. You don't understand, okay? Let me tell you something. You're so wrong to say that. I mean, yes, there are a lot of libs in the Army. They're fucking in this chat right now, active duty. There are a lot of veterans who are now leftists. There are a lot of veterans who are libs. Okay, straight up. But by and large, the way that training is designed is to make you a fucking killer and not think twice about pulling a trigger when you need to, or, you know, moving a joystick and hitting a button when you need to. And that demands you to be a chud. You have to be a chud. The programming has to be so severe that when you're literally in conflict, when you're in the Korengal Valley, when you're in Baghdad, when you're all around, when you're in Kabul, even when you're shooting at people who don't want you to fucking be there, even when you're shooting at people who clearly are like, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? Why are you invading us? We didn't do shit. You have to still think like, I'm here for good reason, brother. I'm here to do, you know, I'm here to do justice and you know, fucking protect and serve, baby. Those who want to pose a threat to the Americans, both foreign and domestic.
Carry out his orders under any circumstances. You heard the man, no boo-boos in the Chechen army. When I was in Iraq, there were Chechen soldiers that were fighting with the insurgents against us. At the time, the Russian military and the Chechens denied being involved, so it's great to see that we've finally taken off our masks, stopped pretending like we're not arming the opposite side with money and weapons to kill each other. Gone are the days where we had any class with our proxy wars. In the Cold War, the Russians and the US would secretly arm opposing forces. Now it's out in the open. In a way, I kind of feel like this conflict was inevitable. The Baltic state countries near Russia, like Latvia and Estonia, they naturally.
How are they cowards when dropping bombs from 30K feet? What else are they gonna do? I don't know. Not fucking do that at all. Not invade. That's a good way to go about it. It's straight up true though. It's true. It's 100% fucking true, dude. You know, you get fucking shot at. You sit in a trench and you order air. You immediately ask for some kind of air support to just go in and fucking clear out the fucking tree line or clear out the mountaintop, and that's it. By the way, the attitude that you have towards American invasion is literally the attitude that you would fucking lose your shit over if the average Russian was saying that to you currently about Ukraine. I hope you understand that. It's very difficult to you know, break through the nationalism that you're learning. Easier said than done, dude. It literally takes $0. It takes no, actually, let me take that back. Not $0. It takes -$6 trillion to not do the war on terror. Like straight up. If you want to put a price on it, more than $6 trillion at this point. $8 trillion. You save $8 trillion fucking dollars. So that would have been cool if we didn't do any of that, you know? Straight up. What do you think, like the pedophile goat herder in fucking some mountain in Afghanistan was going to pose a threat to your freedom of speech? Is that what you thought was going to happen? If we didn't go there and kill his cousins and then gave him fucking piles of cash and then continue killing his cousins and then gave him another pile of cash and then continue to kill his other cousins. A lot of cousins were killed. Thank God we did that, dude. That was really good.
To join NATO as protection against Russia expanding and trying to take them back, because it would be awful for them economically and socially to be under Russian rule. But Russia, on the other hand, they can't allow what they perceive to be NATO expansion with those countries joining NATO right up to their doorstep. And NATO does have a history of overthrowing authoritarian rulers. Whether we would actually do that or not doesn't matter, because this is the Russian perspective and we have to understand what we're up against. For me, this is like when an unstoppable...
That last one, he just stuck right in there, dude. That's the brainwashing. Is the military brainwashing working actively?
Unstoppable force hits an unbreakable wall. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before and I'll be wrong again. I'm just an old former average infantryman in my sweatpants, trying to make sense of what's happening here in this tragedy and trying to laugh through my tears. If you have a different...
I was in the U.S. Army. People forget that fighting the U.S. military is starting the COD match with the enemy having fucking gunships overhead that can murk everything in 2 kilometers. Yeah. Yeah, it's pay to win. It's straight up. In COD terms, it's pay to win. Imagine, like, you start with a tactical nuke, dude. You didn't get 25 kills. You don't have any kill streaks, but you have literally the map hack. You have the map open. You have wall hack, map hack, unlimited fucking superior firepower, air support, gunships, AC-130 inbound. It's like, you know, you're just fucking farming at that point. And the people that you're... It's not cosmetic. It's total pay-to-win bullshit. No, I did not watch Johnny. I'm going to watch it now. Now we're going to watch the most lib one out of all these videos.